Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's IN.FORM Coaches webinar. My name is Shandy Hatfield, and I'll be your host for today's call. We are going to talk all about handling objections and barriers to people joining your IN.FORM group. So just as always, as we go along, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and type those into your little question window, and we'll make sure to save plenty of time at the end of today's webinar that we can cover those. I also just want to draw your attention to your panel in the handout section. I have a copy of today's slides as a handout note form. If you want to go ahead and open those, print those off, you can take some notes as we go along. So make sure you take the time to download those. All right, so let's go ahead and introduce today's presenter. We have got Ray Lambert from Nature Sunshine's home office, and many of you are probably familiar with Ray. He does all of the training, the product training for Nature Sunshine, whether it's Education Week or Success Week or any other time we do a webinar, like I think we had one yesterday. And Ray's fantastic and is prepared to teach us all about handling those objections and barriers. So welcome, Ray. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, Shandalina. Folks, it's an honor to be here. I hope everyone's excited to be here. Thanks so much for investing your time today. Here from home office, the weather is absolutely gorgeous. I took a drive this morning up in the mountains near my house. The leaves are orange, they're yellow, they're red, and the air is crisp and clear, and oh my heavens, I love this time of year. It's heaven. The farmers markets, of course, here in Utah are full of wonderful fall produce, and have been doing farmers markets since close to the end of July, and I go there on a regular basis to buy produce, and I love this time of year, just time of harvest. And so today, this awesome subject that we're going to be talking about is this concept called fear, and also the concept of overcoming objections and that type thing. But we have this magnificent IN.FORM system. I personally am very excited about IN.FORM. I've taught more IN.FORM classes here at home office than I think almost anyone has, and I've taught it to the employees and have been right on Shandy's heels as far as being able to teach. I think Shandy has taught more than anybody in the entire nation as far as IN.FORM classes are concerned, and she is just really, really good at what she does. But I love this system, and I love what it has done for managers all over the country. It's given them a system for finding new customers and introducing them to Nature Sunshine as a whole. IN.FORM is a great way to acquire new customers on a regular basis, and so I'm really excited about that. We obviously have the tools. The certification, we've been doing, as you know, certifications nationwide with seminars, and then NSP, and within the last year started doing online certification. And then just recently, we, as you're fully aware, have the new IN.FORM certification online training system. And that certification online training system, if you haven't gone and looked at it, oh my heavens, it's incredible. There's samples of videos that you can pull up and look at that are really well done. These videos are professionally shot, and then of course you have a chance to interact with the training by mastering the concepts that are there. They're all pre-recorded if you haven't looked at it yet. And you have till the end of this month, I'm going to mention this a couple of times in the presentation, to invest in this as an IN.FORM coach. And so if you'll notice on your control panel you have a little hand, and what I'd like to see here is if you'll just raise your hand and let me know by show of hands if you've signed up for, let me clear all the hands off first. All right, I'm going to clear all the hands off first, and then I want you to put up your hand if you've signed up for the certification as an IN.FORM coach for the $50, $49.99. Okay, there's one. Okay, good. All right, so I'm just going over the list. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you who have signed up for the online certification as a system to train or retrain you. Thank you very much, Jeanette, Doreen, Jerry, Lizette, and also Patricia and Roxy. That's awesome. Thanks for doing that. I'm going to just put your hands down. Thank you. That gives me an idea of who we're talking to here. We have right now 52 people in our audience, and we only have 6 of you who have signed up for the certification. I don't know if you realize, but for $50, you literally have access to this tool for the next 90 days from the time that you sign up for it. So you have access to this tool for 90 days. I personally, if I were an IN.FORM coach and using IN.FORM as a way to get new business, I would never ever be without this system. I would pay for it every quarter just because it is worth its weight in gold. You can go in there and review things. We're going to talk about this 2 or 3 times today, but that's online certification. It's worth its weight in gold, as you can see. The NSP team, the home office team, you've got your regional sales managers who are helping you with IN.FORM. You've got Shandy who's helping you. What an incredible resource. And then the people who need us are IN.FORM needing. They are dying for what we know. And literally, the #1 health epidemic in the United States, as you're fully aware, is cardiometabolic syndrome. And IN.FORM addresses that program better than any other system on the planet. I am so excited about that. But let's just go over this. What's holding you back? There's top 5 objections and barriers. So what's holding you back? #1, objection number 5 is I've tried weight loss programs in the past and yo-yoed, okay? They don't work for me. I'll just tell you a fast story. I have a sister-in-law who has been on more weight loss programs than anybody I know. She's been on the soup diet. She's been on the grapefruit diet. And she loses a lot of weight, does really well. She's very disciplined for a period of time, usually about 3 months. And then because of the deprivation that she's given her body, she starts eating again and gains her weight again. Sometimes I've seen her gain more weight than she had in the past. So right now she's right back to where she has been many times before. And it's not been a good thing for her heart. It's not been a good thing for her health and her body. And it kind of breaks my heart to see how that works. And so let me just go over this. You need to realize that you can be very confident that IN.FORM works. And one of the best ways that you can show this is this one statement: have you tried IN.FORM? You actually will lose weight and keep it off. There's so many people now with the new IN.FORM maintenance program and the training that's behind that that are going to be benefiting tremendously by this. All by itself, it does work wonders in helping people get the weight off. And the new IN.FORM is even better than the one that I have taught so many times in the past. The new and improved IN.FORM, where you're not allowed any types of grains, you're limited to on your fruit and those types of things, makes such a big difference in people's ability to lose weight. And then as you are so well educated through the 13 weeks of the training course, you're literally well educated on how to keep that off. And it has made, whoops, such a big difference. Whoops, here we go. So why is IN.FORM working? #1 is social support. The idea of having that group that you folks lead on a regular basis, whether it's you and another person or you and 3 people or you and a group of 15 people, that social motivation is huge. It makes a big, big difference to get people committed to the idea of losing weight on a consistent basis. And that social support makes a big difference. Accountability to you every single week is enormous. And one of the things that I've learned is people come in and stand on the scale and I weigh them, and I've done this so many times, is you literally, just by looking at people, you can say, oh, I'll bet that person weighs about this much weight. This person weighs 185 pounds. That person weighs over 200 pounds. And you can tell by their build and so on. When you have been around enough people, you're going to be able to start doing that. And then also by looking at their physiology, by looking at how toned they are, you're going to get really quite good at guessing their metabolic age even. And when you start seeing, okay, they come in and they stand on the scale and the BioTracker, and you start pushing those buttons, you can see, okay, this person, I know where they were last week. They've lost 2 pounds, which is magnificent. And the next number that comes up, of course, is percentage of fat. And then right after that is percentage of water. And water is such a huge indicator of how well they're doing on their diet. If they're close to that 50 mark, 50% or higher, they're doing extremely well, and they're cooking with gas. Most people come in well under 50. They're at 46, 47, 48. Very few are at 49, 50, 51, 52. And that, again, is a great indicator of what's happening. And then, of course, the amount of calories that people can take into their diet on a regular basis makes a huge difference. You notice that every single week. And then the very next measurement is that world-famous one for this amazing scale is, of course, their metabolic age. And you look at that metabolic age and you see, holy cow, this is fascinating to see where that person's at. And of course, you also have the measurement that you received in the beginning of what their muscle mass is, the weight of their muscle mass. And again, you can hold them accountable to all of those things. Their bone density will very seldom move up and down. It'll stay fairly consistent throughout the 13 weeks. Even if they're losing weight, that'll stay fairly consistent. And then, of course, last but not least is that visceral fat measurement. You want it down to 12 or less. And I've measured people who are in their 50s, their 60s, and their metabolic or their visceral fat measurement came up at, if you can imagine, clear down into 4, 3, and I've even seen 1 with people that are much older. And again, it's totally based on how much they exercise, how well they're toned, and that type of thing. The holistic approach that NSP teaches through the IN.FORM program is very refreshing. Having people eat on a regular basis, the shakes at least twice a day, making sure that they're putting into their diet some high-quality protein in the form of, you can have chicken or fish or almonds or all types of nuts. Those types of things work very well, but again, in a measured quantity, that works really, really well. And then, of course, the large amount of greens. The thing that's so amazing is putting those green vegetables into your diet, the green leafy vegetables. That all by itself will cause, if you can imagine this, your arteries to dilate. Green leafy vegetables will put nitrous oxide into your diet, or nitric oxide, and that literally causes the dilation of the arteries and the capillaries in your body. That brings down on a very natural basis your blood pressure, and that again is all taught within this system. And when people go through this for 12 weeks, they get really excited. And then, of course, the clinical study. The clinical study that has been done by Dr. Tripp and company last year, and of course he's doing a brand new one this year that's going to be very amazing, this is clinically studied, and it's been proven to be literally the #1 in the country as far as helping people lose weight in a very safe and effective, natural way, and also very quickly, where they lose not only weight, but they also lose fat, and in most cases gain muscle mass at the same time because of the exercise that's taking place. And the structure and the content of the whole program is outstanding. Why is IN.FORM working? #1, it's a proven system. It's not just a diet. It's a magnificent system to teach people how to look at eating and also how to look at life and so on. It's a permanent lifestyle change. Just as this picture of this young couple here and this young lady holding this bowl of fresh vegetables, that's the type of thing that you're trying to help people understand. During that 13 weeks, you're getting them off of their cold cereal. You're getting them off of their milk and putting them on different ways to eat. Instead of white flour and so on, it makes such a big difference to put these green leafy vegetables in their diet. They're upgrading their choices as far as food is concerned. And the other idea is that you're training with multiple topics or habits of health. And the research behind that is huge. You can actually prove every time you're with your group, just by the references and the great manuals that you received, how everything's going. And then a personalized weekly assessments using the 8 health indicators and, of course, the bio tracker and that type thing. Number 5 is basically weight loss competition is so competitive. There's a lot of people competing for this. So again, you need to feel more confident about IN.FORM. And if you haven't tried IN.FORM yourself, let me just tell you, it works. I am down last week to 204 pounds. When I started right after convention, I was not on IN.FORM. I just was following the IN.FORM diet. I weighed 226 pounds at convention. Now I weigh 204, okay? And I've lost weight since last week. I've been exercising 6 days a week. It makes a big difference, in addition to eating the way I'm supposed to. And I've even cheated a couple of times during the time that I've actually been on IN.FORM the last 6 weeks. I've eaten a little bit of white flour and in the form of a couple of cookies. And again, that didn't even get me excited anymore. Things that used to get me very motivated as far as food is concerned doesn't get me very motivated anymore. And so it helps, number one, to try it yourself, because you're going to look a lot better. My goal by the end of November is to be down to about 190 pounds, and I've got 14 more pounds to go. And yes, my suits and my clothes are fitting very loosely on me, but it does make a big difference. It's starting to make a huge difference for me. Tell stories, share testimonials, and so on. One of the best things that you can do as far as testimonials are concerned is to get on that online training system. There's great testimonials there, in addition to being on these weekly coaching calls with you as the IN.FORM coaches. You're going to get a lot of stories if you don't have them yourself. Your own personal stories, the people that you've coached are your very best resource, but if you don't have your own, please get on that online system, pay for it. And also go to all of the coaches' resource page and go back and past webinars, and you'll hear all kinds of testimonies about how awesome IN.FORM is. Review your materials and get recertified if need be. Again, for 50 bucks, you're going to have the ability to go onto that system for the next 90 days. If you haven't done that, and we already found out that a handful of you have done that, for 50 bucks, I would do that all day long, and it's worth its weight in gold. And so please recertify, go through the material, review that material. That will give you the confidence and the belief in this system and how awesome it is. You've got such great training on there by IN.FORM leaders who have done great things with their NSP businesses. I can't mention that enough. Number 3 is fear, okay? Now fear, there's very common fears. Number 2 in the whole world is fear of public speaking. That's a big deal for a lot of people. And number 7, fear of failure, and of course the fear of change or the fear of success. That all ties into the fear of failure. And fear basically, as taught a number of years ago, is false evidence appearing real, that acronym. But the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, and that of course is President Roosevelt who said that, and that literally is a very debilitating thing, is this idea called fear. Georgia O'Keeffe said, I've been absolutely terrified every moment of my life, and I've never let it keep me from doing a single thing that I wanted to do. So who is not afraid of doing new things, okay? When we do new things, it is kind of a spooky thing, but it's okay to try new things. I am still involved with scouting very heavily. I oftentimes have helped scouts back up to a cliff and be all harnessed into a rope with belayers at the bottom. All the rope is tied in at the top, and I've helped talk them over the edge of the cliff so that they can rappel backwards all the way down that cliff. Once they've done it, they have the confidence that they can do it again. Even after you've done it once, it still takes courage to go to the edge of that cliff and lean back into that rope and know that the only thing between you and the ground is that rope. And so once you lean back into that rope, that is a little bit scary. When you've done it a few times, you very confidently can lean back into that rope, and as it bounces you back just a little bit, it's not a big deal. It doesn't scare you. And then the thing that I often do is get a little dangerous and playing on the way down. I start bouncing back and forth as I go down that cliff. And again, I would encourage you to overcome that fear by practicing your public speaking, okay? Practice how you're going to say things as you're with your people. And practice how you're going to do your meeting. That's, again, one of the best things that you can do is practice and get the wiggles, I should say wiggles, but the butterflies out. Make sure that you're confident in your ability to say those words, and make sure that you know exactly where you're at. Once you've practiced and you know what you're going to say and when you're going to say it, you have all the confidence in the world. These lessons, when you're doing your IN.FORM classes, don't take very long. They only take literally between, I've seen them as short as 15 minutes, but I've also seen them as long as 40 minutes. But in 40 minutes, if you could do a class, you're rocking the world. You weigh your people in at the beginning, and you do their measurements, or at the end, depending on how early you do your class in your day. You do your class, and then, of course, the rest of the time is interacting with your magnificent students. This is a great quote by Timothy Ferriss. He says, "What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do." I just want you to think about that for just a second. When it relates to your life, what do you fear the most? A guy named Dave Ramsey, one of the best experts on personal finance in the entire nation, has taught people how to get out of debt. And one of the things that people hate doing, it's because of fear, is actually managing their money. And they have failed a number of times, and they hate failing, and they are afraid to do that. But once people settle in and start to realize that they can do a budget and they can stick to it, they can actually have their cash in an envelope for their grocery bill, their dating budget that they're going to be dating if they're single, or of course if they're married. I, as a married person, had dating budget every single month for my wife and I, and that makes a huge difference to continue to have a budget and so on. But as far as your NSP business is concerned, you need to think really hard of what is holding you back. Oftentimes with this business, it's a matter of just figuring out what you need to do, practicing it in front of the mirror, practicing it in front of stuffed animals or your kids, and then realizing that it's not a big deal. You can do it without any problem whatsoever. Again, identify the worst possible outcomes if things went wrong. What's the worst thing that could happen if this didn't go right tonight? Yesterday I did a webinar at 11 o'clock a.m. and just before the webinar, upper management was making several decisions that were impacting that webinar. And then as the webinar continued to get closer, I finally was allowed to go up and get everything fired up in the webinar room. Usually I'm ready to go with the webinar several minutes before the webinar, and lo and behold, I had the equipment wouldn't work. And so literally at 11 o'clock I went running back down with my laptop back to my desk and fired up my computer at my desk and did my webinar right down there instead of in this webinar room that we have built at Nature Sunshine. And it worked perfectly down there, except for my phone wouldn't work. And so I used my cell phone to tie the audio into the webinar. And again, those things happen, and you just need to think through what can possibly happen. You're not going to be using a webinar format to do your IN.FORM classes. Very few of you are doing this. We understand that. But what is the worst possible thing that can happen? And then just think how you're going to solve it. I have been shot at and hit several times with webinars, and I know how to get out of ugly situations, okay? That's why police train for what they do. That's why soldiers train for what they do. And when you're under fire, you need to be able to make decisions. And the only way that you can make decisions when you're under fire is to have practiced what you're going to do when things don't go right. And that's one of the best things that you can do, is just face your fear, identify the worst possible outcomes, and then just plan for it. Think, okay, what am I going to do if this goes wrong? What am I going to do if this goes wrong? And then practice, plan, prepare. One of the things that I do also is I have in my car a backpack. That backpack I keep with me all the time. And it has in there literally enough food to last me for 4 days for 2 people. I also have water, and I have water purification system in that backpack. Now, it takes me 30 minutes to get to work from my house. Now, why in the world would I ever have a backpack that would do that? The main reason is because if we had a natural or a man-made disaster here in Utah, that 30 miles from my house, that 25 miles from my house, I could actually make in about 2 days, no trouble at all. I could even make it in 1 day if I really pushed. It would take me 2 days. I also have warm clothing, I have gloves, I have matches, I have everything that I need to survive, and so to get back home. And again, I have practiced with those things. I know how to make fires with wet wood. How do you make a fire with wet wood? Well, you practice. There's dry wood inside the wet wood. So I have taught this on many occasions. You have to split the wood, and I have tools, of course, in my backpack to do this, and get to the dry wood. I use that dry wood as kindling, and it very easily starts as a fire. And again, all kinds of cool things you can do if you've practiced. You do the same with your meetings. Face your fear of public speaking. One of the best things you can do is join a Toastmasters group. Toastmasters is a organization that has been around for a long time here in the United States, literally almost 100 years. But what it does is it allows you to join a group. They require a small fee on a monthly basis, but you sit with a group of people who are in not basically your same industry, but perhaps different industries. You become, over the weeks that you meet with them every single week, their friend, but you are given assignments to speak. And one of the best things you can do is learn how to speak on a regular basis to these people. And every once in a while, you're given impromptu topics. And an impromptu topic is speaking on something that you're brand new or not familiar with. One of the best things that you can do at Toastmasters, or even with yourself, is memorize a few stories. Once you memorize a few stories, you can tie those stories into almost anything that you are teaching. Not every story applies to what you're teaching, but again, those stories are invaluable. You've heard me give a story on many occasions about the Dead Poets Society. I've used that story of Robin Williams the first day he's teaching at Helton Academy on many occasions, and I can go on and on with a lot of stories that I've memorized. But it just makes a big difference to have some stories memorized, because people remember stories, and also calms you down to be telling that story. Number 2, IN.FORM costs too much. Really? No, it doesn't. It's not costly at all. Compared to what? Okay, compared to going to see your doctor, compared to, of course, the dadgum costs of medicine, diabetes, heart disease, cancer. IN.FORM is very inexpensive compared to medical bills and those types of things. So really look at that seriously. How much is your health worth? Okay, and ask that question back. How much is your health worth? And then just pause and ask that question of your customer. How much literally is your health worth? I have a daughter right now who on last Saturday, we went backpacking into Bryce Canyon. Bryce Canyon is one of the national parks here in Utah. We have 7 national parks here in Utah. Bryce Canyon is without doubt one of my favorites. Zion's Canyon and Bryce Canyon are gorgeous. But my daughter, who is addicted to soda, she had a very difficult time making the ascent after we made the descent into the valley. And of course, I had no problem whatsoever. Not one time was my heart racing. And she had a heck of a time. She had to rest literally every about 40 feet coming up out of there on the switchbacks coming up out of the canyon. And so you need to ask yourself, what is your health worth? And she's only 34 years old and having a very difficult time with her health. And that breaks my heart to see that happen to her. But just going on down the page, how much is your health worth to your spouse? How much is your health worth to your children and to your grandchildren? You want to spend time with them. You want to. It makes all the difference in the world if you're healthy. Okay. If you're not healthy, your spouse is going to miss you when you're gone. Your kids are not going to have a dad or a mom, and your grandchildren won't have a grandpa or grandma. And so improving your health for them all by itself is huge, let alone the reasons for yourself. But I would really encourage you to think about that as you're asking these questions. And then, so what's holding you back is inertia. And the number one solution, of course, as taught by Tony Robbins, and this is great, is to take massive action, okay? And massive action is worth its weight in gold, because when you start taking massive action, things get done. One of the things that we teach in scouting, and one of the reasons that I love scouting so much, is it teaches young men and young women to do hard things. If they know that they can do hard things because they've had to take massive action, it is a wonderful learning experience. They will survive in the real world when they know that they have done hard things in the past. One of the most amazing things that I remember, we were camped, and it was a fall day. It wasn't quite winter. And we were having these scouts learn how to make a fire, and it had been raining all night long. The next morning, it continued to rain. All the firewood had not been put anywhere underneath any type of canvas or a vehicle, and so the firewood was wet. And so I easily, obviously, could have gone over and helped them start a fire and got everyone warm. They were wet, they were soaked. These little bounders were having a rough time. And then I just said, okay, I want you guys to remember, where do we find dry firewood? And they said, it's inside the wet firewood. And I says, yeah. I says, how did you get to the dry firewood last time when we were inside of the church practicing how to build a fire? Well, we split the firewood. I says, do you have any tools that are near that you could split the firewood with? Yeah, we have a hatchet. I says, is there any pieces that are small and easy to split you could get a few dry pieces out of? And they found, I remember these scouts, they found several pieces that were small enough. They started splitting the firewood, and lo and behold, they found their dry firewood on the inside. They were able to make their fire. So taking massive action, they were able to build their fire. It was nice and warm. They never did dry out before we went home that Saturday, but they did get warm, and it made a huge difference. And again, they learned how to do something hard, something difficult, and they were able to solve their problem. As far as your IN.FORM business is concerned, write down a day for your IN.FORM event. And fall and spring are by far the best 2 times of year for weight loss. If you haven't set your weight loss date yet, or your date to start, let's just talk about that for a minute. I'm going to clear off everyone's hands. We have 61 of you in the meeting. And let me just ask you right now, by raise of hands, how many of you right now have an IN.FORM group going? Raise your hand. You see where you can raise your hand? Okay, good. That's great. It looks like about a third of you have your hand raised. Congratulations on that. So we have Bridget, Doreen, Jeanette, Jerry, Carrie, Katie Lebecki, Marcia Bird, Mary, Melanie, Nancy, and I'm just going down the page here. Roxy, Ruth, Sandra, Sandy, Sarah, Shirley, Tammy, and Tony. All of you have groups started. That's excellent, okay? I'm going to clear this off. Thank you. Now, write down a date for your IN.FORM event. When are you going to do an IN.FORM event? Those of you who haven't got a date or who are going to start another date this fall still, you have October, November, and December. You can easily finish one before the end of the year. Do you have a date set for your next IN.FORM event? Please raise your hand. You have a date set for your next IN.FORM 13 weeks. Okay, so we had a third of you raise your hand indicating that you were in the middle of one. Now I'm going to just count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Whoops. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So right on the money. A third of you have your next IN.FORM date set. So that again is a critical thing, is to set a date. Okay, write a date down. Work with your spouse. Work with your upline manager. If you don't have a person that you're accountable to, that normally is your upline manager, get somebody else that you be accountable to for this goal. But write down that date. I'm going to clear this off. Write down the first 5 steps and schedule them. Okay? And then get a partner to help you be accountable. And again, that's so critical. If you don't have an accountability partner, find one. Okay, it could be your next door neighbor, could be your best friend across the country. It would be best if they were informed about IN.FORM, that they knew about IN.FORM. And so get an accountability partner and make that happen. Okay? You have the system, so let's get started this month. The top 5 reasons to start your IN.FORM groups in September. Number 1, summer is over. Busy moms and dads can finally focus on themselves and their extra pounds after a busy summer focusing on their children. I love that. And so do the math. There's just enough time to start and finish your IN.FORM 13-week group before the holidays. And so bust a move. If you don't have time to do it this fall because you're already in the middle of doing 1 or 2 or 3 IN.FORM groups, set your date to start in 2017. Holy crud, that blows my mind. 2017 is just around the corner. Okay. Number 4, college Fs. Kids are back to school, and dorm food can be very comforting. Thus the freshman 15 pounds. Start a 3F club. Fight freshman 15. I love that. Help young folks with lifestyle education that will reward them well after graduation. Number 3, it's football season. How many guys do you know who lose weight playing fantasy football? Not one of them. So start a Belly Buddies club. The fellas can compete for real prizes and bragging rights. So by playoffs, the weight's off. That would be huge to do that. Number 2 is prevention. Teaching and practicing habits of health now before the holiday temptations and excess ensures your team gets strong results into the new year, and that's a gift. Wouldn't it be awesome if you, at the end of this year, were at your ideal weight and even went through the holidays at your ideal weight and started next year? What a great example you would be. And number 1 reason, of course, is free product. You can get up to $450 in free product from Nature's Sunshine. And I'm going to turn the time back over to Shandalina to finish this webinar, but it's been my pleasure to help you guys today. Thanks so much for having me, and we'll turn the time back over to Shandy.
Thanks so much, Ray. That was awesome, and I think that we've all run into some of those barriers and obstacles as we're trying to fill our IN.FORM groups. So those were some great tips for us. So let me just finish this little part, and then we'll jump into some questions, and then we have just a couple of slides to wrap things up. So yeah, like Ray said, September is a great month to start your group for all of those different reasons, but we also have a great promotion to give you a little bit more of an incentive. So if you start a group this month with 5 or more new participants, you will get a $150 product credit just for getting that group started. And you also can earn additional product credit based on your group sales. So if your group reaches 600 QV in IN.FORM product sales, you get an additional $150 in product credit. And if you reach 1,000 QV in IN.FORM product sales, you're going to get an additional $300 in product credit. So it's really a great great promotion that we're running this month. So if you're starting a group within the next couple of days, or if you have already started a group, make sure that you go onto the coaches portal and register that group so that we know that that group is up and running and we can reward you with those different incentives. So, okay, let's jump into a couple of questions, and then I've got some other announcements. Okay, so this question is from Laura, and she asks, no matter what I do, I can't get my water content up. Why would this be? And I'm assuming that's your body water percent. I have some thoughts, and then Ray, maybe you have some additional thoughts. One thing with that water percentage, it does correlate really highly with the body fat percentage. So until that body fat percent starts to move down, the water won't really move up much. So as you start getting results overall, your body water is going to start to come up. So if you're just sticking with the program, you're going to see that eventually start to move. Do you have any other thoughts on the body water and how to get that one up? Okay, Ray says right there as well. So that's something that I would suggest. Let's look. Okay, this is from Tony. She asks, what do you watch for when the eating plan is followed well and they exercise diligently, but their metabolic age hasn't moved from 90 in 19 weeks? So one thing with that metabolic age is it caps at 90. So if somebody is stuck at 90 for a while, it's probably because they're actually a lot higher than 90, and it can just take some time in order to get below 90 so you can start to see that. So I just recommend patience. I'm sure that number is moving. It just hasn't moved to where we can read it yet. So tell them to stick with it, and that metabolic age will eventually start to come down. All right. Okay, so this question is from Elise, and maybe you can help us a little bit with this one, Ray. So she says, I moved to a brand new state, a new town, and knows literally no one. How do I find interested people to build a social group for an IN.FORM program? She's just stuck with the getting started part. She's in a new town. Any thoughts on that one for us, Ray?
I love that challenge. That's kind of fun. One of the things that if I were going to run an IN.FORM group on my own, and I'm not allowed to because I'm a salaried employee with Nature Sunshine, but I've thought about this a lot, is obviously you don't have family and friends and cousins and your neighbors and everything. And so one of the things that I've thought a lot about and I've considered, and I've actually seen a lot of people do this with great success in Nature Sunshine, is to go to a business or 2 or 3 and find out if they would have any interest in having you come and teach their employees about weight loss. And actually there are a number of companies that would be very motivated to do that because it will bring their insurance rates down. It'll also be a great benefit to the employee morale, and you could be doing lunch and learns and those types of things. And the way I would approach it is I would talk to the HR department and find out if there's any company budget money to help with employees with a weight loss program. If not, have the employees, of course, pay for it. But you can start with small companies or large companies. Just remember, when you go into a large company, the goal is to find the owners of that business or the people that can make the decision to allow you to work with their employees. If you're going into a multinational corporation, don't ever even waste your time on that, because it'll take forever. But if you go into a small company where it's perhaps a small manufacturing facility that are making widgets or something, and you know that they're headquartered right in your community or just down the road from where you live, that would be a great place to start, and that type of thing. A small retail store would be another great place to start. A health-conscious place would be to go into a chiropractic office or a massage therapy office or something like that, and approach them with a number or with their employees. All kinds of great ideas would come to my mind, and I think I could literally do that all day long. I could line up businesses, and what I would do is I would line up these businesses by driving around town and just looking at what's available, writing down their names, and then of course acquiring their phone numbers. And then you could, at your home, make phone calls and say, hello, this is Ray Lambert calling. I'm calling to find out if you folks are locally owned, or and then they'll tell you, yeah, we are. Do you have an HR department, or do you have a general manager? Now, yeah, our owner is the general manager. Great. Well, what I was calling about is we're interested in helping people lose weight. We are going to be starting a new weight loss program, and we are actually doing an experiment right now to find out if we could do that in a business. There are other people in our company that have done that in other parts of the United States. Excuse me. And that's the way I would approach it. And again, this is one of those fears that are going to keep you from getting started. And so by taking massive action, as you were just told by Tony Robbins, drive around town, write down the names of these businesses, collect all their phone numbers, and then start making phone calls. That will take time. You can do that easily within a week, and then just go to town. Do not look up one phone number at a time, because it's not going to work. If you look up a whole bunch of phone numbers and then go through those phone calls as though, if you can imagine this, going bullets through a machine gun, go through them quickly and efficiently. The reason is because you can build up to that. You can sit down, you can have your script, practice it with other people, practice it with your upline manager. If you have questions or concerns about your script, practice it with your spouse, and make sure that you're comfortable with it, and go from there. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. And just some thoughts I had too is, as you're trying to build that social network in a new place, there's things like classes at a gym. Maybe you meet people that are already maybe interested in getting healthy through those types of things, a yoga class. Or I also remember on a previous webinar that one of our coaches talked about Meetup, which is a website where you can actually either connect with other people or set up your own meetup that people in your local area can get together. There's different groups like hiking groups or things like that, walking groups. So that's also something that you could take a look at. All right, let me just look at these questions. Okay, so this is from Pam. She is wondering, how important is it to weigh your clients 2 hours after a meal? And if you don't wait, how does it impact the numbers? So with that, you're going to get your most accurate reading without having food or drink for 3 hours after a previous meal. But that being said, I think the most important thing is that you're really consistent and that you weigh people in at the same time of day. I'm not sure exactly the impact that the eating makes, but for example, a morning weigh-in versus an evening weigh-in, typically in the morning you're going to be a lot more dehydrated, and so your body fat's going to read higher. and your metabolic age and everything, your weight may be a little bit lower, but in the evening, it's going to be a little bit more accurate. So, but the most important thing is being consistent for sure. Okay, so some of these other questions have to do specifically with some of the promotions. So I'm going to go through just a few more slides, and then we'll take any other questions that we have time for. Okay, so Ray mentioned this a few times, but we do have our new online IN.FORM certification platform. And this is really different than what we did during the summer during our webinar certification weeks. Actually, it's an online platform. It's comprised of over 50 videos ranging anywhere from a minute to about 10 minutes. And it really shows groups in action. You're able to see all of the 13 modules with a different, we have about 4 coaches that teach those so that you can see what a group actually looks like, what kinds of content is shared. We have some really great additional videos on how to get everything up and going with your groups. We have expert coaches, we have some doctors that have some different videos there. So that is available now at IN.FORMcoaches.com. You actually can go and try the first lesson for free. For the month of September, we do have a special introductory price for your new people that are interested in getting certified. This really is a great time to get involved if they have been on the fence or have been interested in getting certified. So they can certify for $399 as long as they register by the 30th. That's quite the savings there. They get the entire kit, which has the metabolic age support products, plus your banner and your bio trackers and all of your different other materials. We do also have a special deal for you that Ray also mentioned. If you register by the end of this month, you can get access to the online certification course for 90 days. There's a special price of $49.99, which is $25 off of the regular price. And with that, you get access to the course, but you also get a coach's manual, a new coach's manual, and 3 participant manuals, which is a $45 value if you bought those separately. So you're really getting your money's worth there with that online certification. So if you're considering getting a refresher or just want access to the great material, I would strongly suggest that you register by the end of this month for that. If you've been on these webinars, you may already be familiar with this, but we've been running a recipe contest. We're trying to build really a recipe section out on the on the Nature Sunshine blog, and we're starting to put some of your great recipes that you've been sharing with us out there. But we have a little incentive for you to do that. So if you submit an IN.FORM friendly recipe to social@natr.com, the first 5 people who submit a recipe will receive some NSP swag. So continue to share those recipes with us. We actually, last week, only had 4 people share recipes, so everybody that shared one is one of our winners. So you have a really good chance of getting a prize if you submit something to us. So our 4 winners are Sarah Hill, Paula Segal, Cindy Feege, and Shirley Goodrich. So congratulations to all of you. We will be sending something out to you very soon. And then our grand prize winner will get a choice of a metabolic age kit or an authentic essential oils kit and a diffuser. And the drawing winner was Cindy Feege. So congratulations to our winners. And thank you so much for sharing your recipes and helping us build out that great library of IN.FORM friendly recipes that all of the coaches can benefit from. So, and let me just show you really quick where you can get to that. So if we go to the Nature Sunshine website and we go to the blog, just right up here at the top, we'll let that load. You can actually look right here, IN.FORM recipes, that was just right out on the side. And as you can see, we're starting to build a little library here. We've got some snacks and different meals, so make sure that you take good advantage of that. And we'll continue to add to that as well. Okay, the IN.FORM challenge, I know we talk about this every week, but it's really important to get all of your participants enrolled. So basically how it works is you can have them enroll anytime they're starting an IN.FORM group. They go their 13 weeks and then they're going to submit their, well, at the beginning they enroll by sharing their before measurements. They only need to share one photo, which is a straight-on from the front, head to toe. There's spots for other photos, but that's the only one that's actually required. And then a little information about why they're doing the challenge. And then at the end of the 13 weeks, they're going to submit their after photo as well as their measurements and their little essay. So we really encourage everybody to do that. Here's our new prizes that we just came up with. I think we launched this just last month. So our first place person now receives $1,000 cash plus a photo shoot, a makeover, and convention for 2, plus $300 in product credit. So you can see we have some amazing prizes for the winners. Plus every participant who completes the challenge receives $25 in free product. So it's really a great thing that we have going there. Okay, so our next webinar is going to be Tuesday at the same time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. We've got about 2 minutes so we can take a couple additional questions. Kelly is wondering where does she send the recipes to for the contest? So it's actually an email address. It's social at N like Nancy, A, T like Tom, R like Robert.com. So that is social at NATR.com. So make sure to send those in. Okay, so Sarah is wondering, she says her group is mostly repeat participants. Does she qualify for the I.N.FORM points? So a group that has 5, as long as you've added 5 new people, there can still be repeats in that group, but you need to be adding new people into it every 13 weeks, then you can still be eligible for those I.N.FORM points. Let me see what else. Okay, this is from Ruth. She's wondering, do the IN.FORM product sales for the Start Your Group promotion do only the orders from your IN.FORM group members count towards that 600 or 1,000 QV? And yes, that's correct. So we're going to look at those group members to see if you qualified. All right, and Cindy, one of our winners, said that she's excited about winning the prize for the recipe contest. And yes, Cindy, you can just shoot me over an email and we'll get you taken care of for that grand prize. All right, well, we're right at noon, so we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for today. Just want to say thank you to Ray for being with us. That was an excellent presentation, and I know we'll all benefit from it. And thank you to all of you coaches for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be with us. We really appreciate you being here with us, and we will see you all next Tuesday. Have a great day.